I had just taken the promotion, and I walked into my boss's office. Her name was Myrtle. Now, Myrtle was 6'2", and she wore heels on top of it, so she had this very intimidating presence. That is until she spoke, because every stereotype you can think of for Southern hospitality, she had all of them times 2. So the intimidation, as soon as she spoke, went away. But she looked at me and she said, Jamey, she goes, I know you don't know exactly how to do this job, and you're going to make some mistakes. In fact, it's okay. Because if you don't make a few mistakes, it means that you're not really trying hard enough. So I want you just to know that it is okay to make some mistakes. But when you do, here's what I want you to do. She goes, I want you to come to me immediately with what the mistake was. I don't want to hear it from anybody else. Number 2 is I want you to tell me what happened. I want you to walk me through your decision-making process that led up to the mistake. And number 3, I want you to be able to tell me what you would do differently the next time. As long as you do those 3 things, Jamey, she goes, I promise you'll never get in trouble, never be disciplined or reprimanded in any way. Now Myrtle, she lived up to her end of the bargain. Because in the first 6 months in that new position, I was at her door every day. Myrtle, I made another one. But as long as I followed her methodology for making mistakes, she never reprimanded me, never got in trouble. Only when I tried to maybe cover it up, or I thought, she won't find out about it. Those were the times when there was some sort of circumstance that came. Now, I share that story with you because it is a small 30, 45 second vignette about why it's okay to make mistakes. And I share that story when I do my workshops for new leaders, new supervisors, managers, that type of a setting. But it's really important to understand where stories come from, because you see, that was just a very simple story that happened to me just one day in my life. But it's important for you to understand that, because that's where the most powerful, the most memorable, and the most meaningful stories come from. It's in our everyday life. Now, you may have one of those climbing Mount Everest types of stories where something huge happened to you, something amazing. If you have one of those, absolutely share them. They're great and they're entertaining and people love hearing those. On the other hand, most of us, we don't have that. And I just want you to know that if you don't have that kind of a story, it's okay. In fact, I would even side a little bit on it's those common day-to-day stories that connect, just make a better connection with somebody versus the one that's kind of the big, huge story, because most of us can't relate to climbing Mount Everest. All of us can relate to making some mistakes or getting a promotion or starting a new job. I just wanted you to see from an example of how easy it is to find a story. But I know what you're probably thinking. Yeah, okay, Jamey, but where do I find that? I don't remember all of those. That's what I wanted to share with you today. Is that just about a week and a half ago, I sent out a survey. And I asked for people to tell me, what are their most burning questions about stories? And I was amazed by the results that I got. They fell into basically three different categories, three categories for the most part. 28% of the questions that people had all had about how do I create a story, meaning that they already had one, they had one in mind, but how did they actually create it? And then 27%, they had their questions were like, where do I even go about finding my story? And then 20% was, where does my message, or how do I find the message within my story? Which I think that kind of falls along with the create part. And then another 15%, their questions were, well, how do I use my story? How do I use it in business? How do I use it in life in general? So 15% fell into the category of how do I use my story? And I just thought those were really, really, they were just really great results, because it gave me this, just, I guess, some insight as to what is important to people. And when I find out that what was important, it now helps me to help you, so I can show you where to find your story, how to create the story and the message of the story, and then the third part is how to then go about using it. But here's something that I just totally baffled me for a long time, was that I've had this vision in my mind about finding and creating and using stories, and I was also on another side of things, I was using something that I was calling the 3D storytelling process. And the 3Ds are these: it's discover, develop, and deliver. But I never put the two sides of that together, the find, create, and use, and the discover, develop, and deliver. Sometimes we get so close to things that we can't see it. Literally 3 days ago, I had a phone call with a close friend of mine, Joshua, who I used to work with. He and I used to travel together and do consulting. And we've just stayed in contact. And I hadn't talked with Josh for a while. And Josh calls and asked me, how's this story thing going? And I give him this discover, develop, and deliver piece. And he's like, dude, if you can put that together, I'll buy it. Well, all of a sudden, it came into clear focus that create, find, and use was the same thing as discover, develop, and deliver. I had just never saw it until he called and put the pieces together for me. Which, the lesson I take from that is this, is that sometimes we need other people. Sometimes we get so close to things we can't see it because we are so close. It's that whole too close to the trees to see the forest kind of scenario. It was kind of that, and you need another person, an outside perspective. Josh was that outside perspective for me. Now, that right there, that's just another quick little story that happened to me 3 days ago that I learned a lesson from. Now, if I can learn that lesson and share it with you, you can have this lesson as well. It's like, yeah, we do need outside perspectives from time to time. So there's two very quick, easy, simple little stories that show the power of the story and the lesson behind them. Now, let me walk you through this process. I want you to see how simple it's going to be for you to find a story right now on this video. So I'm just going to ask you one quick question, and I want you to the first name that comes to your mind is what I want you to focus on. So just think about, who was the best boss you ever had? Okay, you have their name in mind? Good. Now, kind of keep them in mind, and I'm going to ask you a few additional questions. First, what is one physical characteristic that comes to your mind when you think of your best boss ever? Second, what is their personality? How would you describe their personality in 1 or 2 words? And then what is one thing you learned from them? Now, to help you along the what did you learn from them process, think about, what did you like about them? What was something that they would do very consistently that everybody else liked or appreciated about them? Or maybe did they have a mantra or something that they repeated often that really sunk in and meant something to you? Or how did they treat you and the rest of the team? When you start thinking along those terms, that starts to let you have, this is something you have learned from them, that if you're ever in their position sometime as a boss, as a manager, supervisor, it's how you might want to think about treating other people because that's what you liked about them. Then you can take that and explain to somebody, I once had a boss who was, and they were so personality. And one thing that I learned from them was this, because I always seen them do this. That's the story. Go back to the story about Myrtle. Let me ask you this question. How tall was Myrtle? She was 6'2". And what did she wear on top of the 6'2"? Heels. But what was her overall personality? She was from the South. And how did I feel about her? Initially, intimidated, but then when she spoke, everything was all right. And then she taught me a process to handle mistakes. You see, we don't have to give all the details. We just need to give enough so that the audience, whether it's one person or hundreds of people, the audience, whoever you're speaking to, they just need to be able to see the other person in their own mind is all they need. And then just a little bit of detail helps them to do that. So you have a story now. You have a story about your best boss. You have a characteristic and a personality about them, and something that you liked about them, which you can turn into something you learned from them that you can now share with others. That's how easy creating a story really is. And now it's a 30-second vignette you can share with other people. Let me give you one more example of how easy it is to do it in the moment. I'm going to let you see a video clip. And this video clip is from a live workshop that I did, and right on the spot worked with one of the workshop participants, Adam, and created a workshop or a story right then and there. So enjoy.
And we all have stories that we learn from every single day. I bet you can probably find a story from your drive here today, Adam. You got lost. Or not lost, sorry. You didn't get lost. Your GPS let you down. Your GPS let you down. And you drove roughly an hour to get here. I am sure on your way here you saw some things along the side of the road. I am sure that you're with your GPS letting you down. It was frustrating. Has everyone ever been let down by technology? And did it frustrate you that you were let down by technology? Did it end up making you late? Did it end up making you lose a deal? Did it end up making you get so angry or so frustrated that it ruined the rest of your day? Or it took you extra time to do things?
Made me mistrust the GPS.
It made you mistrust the GPS. And have you ever mistrusted somebody? Or mistrusted a piece of equipment? Or mistrusted anything in your life? Has anyone ever been there before?
Sure.
I was driving to this incredible workshop on a Saturday morning. And as I was driving, I thought I knew exactly where I was going. And I ended up having to call the workshop, what are we? Workshop leaders? Presenters? Facilitators, there we go. That's the word I was looking for. Facilitators, because I thought maybe I had put in the wrong address. Well, what I found out is that my GPS had just simply let me down. Have you ever been let down by technology? So, tiny little itty bitty story of something that just happened today can actually make a connection because everybody has been let down.
So what did you think of that video? Pretty cool, right? I mean, we took Adam, who had a problem with his GPS, on the way to that workshop and found a story in it. It's just that crazy simple to be able to find stories. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Now, Jamey, okay, I got my best boss story, and I heard you tell the story about Myrtle and, about Adam and his GPS. Where else do I find them? Well, they're all over the place. I mean, you might have your best boss story, but now what about the worst boss? You ever have one of those? Yeah, we all have. What about the extracurricular activities you had at school? Maybe you were in sports or band. What about that pet you had, your first pet even? What about the best vacation, worst vacation, best teacher, worst teacher? Those stories are all over the place, and you follow that same format. So those are great ways to find your stories. Now, here's something I'm really excited about. Now, is if you have found any value in this, and you've liked any of the information that I've sent up to this point, I invite you to click on the button at the bottom of this video. Because this button will take you to a registration page for our Story Matters teleseminar series. Now, in this series, we're going to do everything we did on this video, but we're going to go so much deeper. We're going to start figuring out how do we really find a whole bunch of these stories for you. Then how do we take some of those and start to develop them into good stories and find the message in them? And then we'll wrap up by saying, how do we now take it and how do we deliver it? Who do we deliver it to? And how do we use this story to benefit other people's lives as well as our own? So I'm so excited about this. But it's only going to be at this special price for a very limited time. So do it right now. Take advantage of it. And the seats, they are limited because we want to make sure that on the seminar series itself, while we're on the calls, we give time for everybody to get involved. And if we have too large of a group, it'll never happen. So we want to make sure that you get your seat and you get the attention that you want and that you deserve. So don't miss out. Click that button right now. And when you do, you're going to get 2 bonuses. Your first bonus is going to be a radio show that I was the guest of with Walt Grossel. Now, Walt interviewed me about stories. And what we led into was I walked Walt through this story finding process live on the air. And he walked away with a story. So you'll get to hear that live. And then the other bonus is a video of me teaching a workshop at a conference or at a convention. I taught this workshop. And you'll see us walk through the process live with a large group. So you get both of those bonuses, again, when you click below, and do it now because I don't want you to miss out. I don't want you to miss out on the teleseminar series, and I certainly don't want you to miss out on the special pricing. So do it now. I want to leave you with this. Finding and sharing your stories is about helping other people. And it's also about helping you. When we can go back and find what our stories have done for ourselves, it can help us to lead better lives. And then we can help other people lead better lives by sharing our stories and our lessons with them. That's what this is all about. So click on the button. Find a way to help you to live a better life, but also to help other people live better lives too. That's why I'm doing this. So thank you for spending some time today. Go out, make it a great day, and God bless.